Title: Reborn. I let his fake pregnant heiress take my wedding. Then my CEO husband arrived. Part 1. The fake pregnant heiress took the microphone. The fake heiress grabbed the wedding microphone before I reached the altar and pressed one hand over her stomach. Her white silk sleeve trembled under the chandelier light. Not from fear, but from the tiny, practiced shake she used whenever she wanted a room to protect her. 300 guests turned away from me, the bride in the aisle, and toward Sienna Hart, the adopted daughter my family had raised like a porcelain apology. My fiance, Nolan Vale, stopped beside the minister. My father stood from the front row. My mother covered her mouth, but not before I saw the relief in her eyes. Then Sienna whispered into the microphone, "Marina cannot marry him. I am carrying Nolan's child." The bridal march died in the speakers. Someone gasped. Someone else lifted a phone. The white aisle runner under my shoes looked suddenly less like a path to marriage and more like a strip of evidence tape. In my first life. I ran forward and begged Sienna to stop. I asked Nolan to deny it. I asked my parents to believe their biological daughter over the girl who had spent 10 years learning how to cry without ruining her mascara. By midnight, I had apologized to the guests for hurting a pregnant woman, signed away my minority shares in Harlow Grand Hotel to keep the scandal quiet, and watched Sienna sit in my bridal chair while my family called me selfish for making the day about myself. 6 months later, the pregnancy disappeared as quietly as it had arrived. Sienna said stress caused a loss. Nolan married her anyway. My father used my signed apology to remove me from the Harlow family trust. The hotel board accepted his story that I was unstable, jealous, and a danger to the family brand. The last photograph printed of me before I vanished from society was not my wedding portrait. It was a cropped image of me on my knees beside the altar, holding Sienna's wrist. While headlines called me the heiress who attacked an expectant mother. Then I woke up this morning with my veil folded beside my bed, and the wedding microphone still waiting for Sienna's hand. Same date, same Rosemont Grand Ballroom, same arranged marriage my father said would save the Harlow Hotel shares after a bad expansion loan. Same secret I had kept for 3 years. Nolan Vale was not my husband. Rowan Mercer was. The quiet man in the hotel security jacket near the ballroom doors. The man my family thought was only assigned to crowd control. Had married me at City Hall when my grandmother's lawyer warned me that my father would one day sell me as neatly as he sold banquet rooms. In my first life. I hid Rowan because I thought admitting I had married a hotel guard would make the scandal worse. I did not know then that Rowan's plain name badge was a courtesy, not a confession. I did not know Mercer Meridian already held the debt on half the hotels in the city. I did not know my husband was the heir who would buy Rosemont Grand after my family destroyed me inside it. This time, when Sienna took the microphone, I did not move. I looked up at the camera above the center aisle and asked, clearly enough for the first 3 rows to hear, "Is the wedding live stream still recording?" The room changed temperature. My mother's hand dropped from her mouth. Nolan's eyes cut toward the camera crew. Sienna blinked once, because the line she expected from me was not that one. She expected, "Why are you doing this?" She expected Nolan, "Tell them the truth." She expected me to make myself loud enough for everyone to call me cruel. Instead, I adjusted my veil and looked at the planner beside the aisle. Please do not cut the feed. If Miss Hart is announcing a pregnancy claim at my ceremony, the original recording matters. My father, Victor Harlow. strode toward me with his smile pinned on. "Marina, this is a family matter." He used the tone he saved for donors, soft enough to sound kind and hard enough to leave bruises. "Come with me." I looked past him to Sienna. "Which hospital confirmed it?" Her mouth opened. Nolan answered for her. "This is not an interrogation." He looked handsome under the flower arch, tall and polished, and angry that the room had not immediately obeyed the story. "Sienna is fragile. You should be ashamed." Fragile. In my first life? That word turned every weapon in the room toward me. Tonight, I let it sit where everyone could see it. "A fragile pregnant woman just announced a private medical claim into a live microphone during my wedding," I said. "I am asking for the hospital name so we can call a doctor and protect her." A few guests murmured. Protection was a difficult word for Nolan to reject in public. Sienna pressed her hand harder to her stomach. "Marina, please do not make me prove my pain." "I am not asking you to prove pain," I said. "I am asking who printed the medical note my mother is holding before you faint." My mother's fingers tightened around her clutch. She had not realized I had seen the folded paper. I had seen everything this morning. At 6:12 a.m., Reborn memory had thrown me out of bed. At 6:30, I emailed a time-stamped notice to Daniel Reed, the hotel board's independent counsel, warning him that a false pregnancy claim would be used to force a share transfer. At 7:05, I sent Rowan one message: "Do not stop them early. I need witnesses." He replied with 4 words: "I will follow you." Nolan stepped off the altar. "Enough." He reached for Sienna's elbow as if rescuing her from me, though I had not moved. "Marina, apologize now." "For what?" "For turning our child into a contract dispute." Our child. Good. The first lie had named itself. I looked at the guests, then at the camera, then at the security guards stationed near the side doors. "Please preserve the lobby, bridal suite, corridor, and ballroom feeds from 7 this morning onward." My father hissed my name. I kept my voice calm. If Nolan is claiming paternity, if Sienna is claiming pregnancy, and if my family is about to ask me to surrender my wedding and hotel shares because of it, we should preserve the records before anyone becomes emotional. Sienna's eyes filled perfectly. A tear slid down her cheek and stopped before her lip color. "I never wanted to hurt you." In the first life, that line destroyed me because I still wanted her to love me. Tonight, it only told me she had practiced in a mirror. I walked the last few steps of the aisle, not toward Nolan, but toward the small table where the wedding register waited. The pen lay beside it. The contract folder with the Harlow crest sat beneath a spray of white roses. Someone had placed it there for the signing after the ceremony. Someone had expected me to be too broken to read. I lifted the folder and opened the first page. The top sheet was not a marriage register. It was an apology statement drafted in my name. I, Marina Harlow, deeply regret the distress I caused Miss Sienna Hart and her unborn child. The statement continued for 3 paragraphs and ended with my consent to transfer my voting rights in Rosemont Grand Holdings to my father until the family matter could be resolved. The creation date in the footer read 7:41 a.m., 2 hours before Sienna touched the microphone. There it was, the second proof object. Before the first one had finished speaking, I held the paper up just high enough for the nearest camera. "Father," I said, "why was my apology written before Sienna announced anything?" The ballroom went silent so quickly I could hear the fountain behind the cake. My father looked at the paper, then at Sienna, then at Nolan. 3 people who thought they were directing the scene had just realized the actress had read the script. Rowan remained by the doors, still in his security jacket, still unknown to almost everyone. But his eyes met mine across the room. He did not step forward. He did not save me. He waited, exactly as I had asked, while I let the trap become public. Part 2. They drafted my apology before I spoke. My father recovered first, because men like Victor Harlow mistake speed for control. He stepped between me and the camera, with the apology statement still in my hand. "That document is a draft," he said. "Families prepare for possibilities." "Then this family prepared my guilt before Sienna prepared her announcement," I said. The line traveled through the front rows. I saw Aunt Celia lower her champagne glass. I saw 2 hotel board members whisper. I saw Nolan's mother, Evelyn Vale, narrow her eyes not at me, but at the paper. Evelyn had wanted this marriage because Rosemont Grand's downtown property completed her son's expansion plan. A public fake pregnancy was tolerable to her only if it came with profit. Sienna gave a small sob.
"I did not know about any apology."
Her performance was excellent. She turned the room away from the document and back to her wet eyes. "In my first life." That pivot worked every time. Proof was paper. Tears were weather. People remembered weather. Tonight. I folded the apology slowly and placed it on top of the wedding register. "Then you will not mind if the original file history is preserved." My mother, Elaine Harlow, stood too quickly. "Marina, stop humiliating your sister. She is not my sister when she is claiming my fiance's child at my wedding." I said, "She is a witness." The word witness made Sienna flinch. Not much. Enough. Rowan had taught me during our secret marriage that guilty people fear boring words more than dramatic ones. Witness, timestamp, custody, original, preserve. They do not sound like revenge. They sound like doors closing quietly. The wedding planner, a pale woman named Grace Lynn, hovered beside the flower arch with her headset pressed to one ear. I looked at her. "Grace, who placed this folder on the signing table?" Grace's eyes darted to my mother. "Mrs. Harlow asked that it be available after the ceremony." "At what time?" "Around 7:45. My father's jaw moved. "This is absurd." 7:45, I repeated. Sienna announced at 9:58. I looked at the guests. So, before the bride arrived, before the ceremony began, before anyone heard the pregnancy claim, my mother placed an apology in my name beside a transfer of voting rights. I turned one page. There it was, hidden beneath the apology. Temporary assignment of beneficial voting authority, Rosemont Grand Holdings. Assigner, Marina Harlow. Assignee, Victor Harlow. Reason? Reputational stabilization following family medical incident. The phrase was so ugly, it almost impressed me. In my first life. I signed it with tears falling on the ink. Tonight. I read it out loud. My mother whispered, "It was to protect you." From whom? From yourself. Of all the things she had said in 2 lives, that one was the cleanest. It told the truth by accident. She was not protecting me from scandal. She was protecting the family from the version of me that might refuse to be useful. Nolan came down the steps from the altar with Sienna leaning on his arm. "Marina, you are making this worse for everyone." Everyone? I asked. Or for the people who already printed my confession? He looked at the guests, then lowered his voice. You are not thinking clearly. Sienna is pregnant. I will take responsibility. When did she tell you? This morning. Before or after my apology was printed? His eyes flashed. You think this is clever? No, I said. I think it is a timeline. The word landed harder than clever would have. The wedding videographer, who had been inching sideways for a better angle, stopped moving. Good. I wanted the camera to stay on Nolan's face. What hospital? I asked again. What doctor? What test time? Sienna's hand tightened on Nolan's sleeve. I went to Westbridge Women's Clinic, she said. Yesterday. My mother closed her eyes. Nolan's mother turned her head sharply. Westbridge. In my first life, I heard that name only once, in a whisper behind a bathroom door, when Sienna told a cousin the clinic would not matter after the wedding. I had spent my first morning calling Westbridge's public line, then emailing their compliance office a question Daniel Reed taught me to phrase carefully. If a patient presents an unsigned pregnancy confirmation under your logo in a public business dispute, who verifies document authenticity? They did not give me medical information. They did not need to. They confirmed only that their clinic's current confirmation template had changed 2 months ago. I opened my phone and showed Daniel Reed's reply to the nearest camera. Westbridge template mismatch logged. Clinic legal office will confirm whether document is clinic generated if presented by claimant. I did not read more than that. I did not need to turn private medicine into spectacle. I needed to show the paper could not become a weapon without verification. Sienna, I said, please ask Westbridge to confirm that the document in my mother's clutch came from them. The room shifted again. Sienna looked at my mother. My mother looked at my father. My father looked at Nolan. In first life order, they had always looked at me last because I was the thing being moved. Tonight, they looked at each other because the thing had moved itself. Evelyn Vale rose from the groom's side. She was 60, silver-haired, and sharp enough to cut silk with a smile. Victor, may I see the document? My father hesitated. That hesitation cost him. Evelyn's expression cooled. If my son is being named as the father of an unborn child at a public wedding, the Vale family will not rely on a paper in Elaine's handbag, Nolan said. Mother. Quiet, Evelyn said without looking at him. I almost laughed, not because she was on my side. Evelyn Vale was on the side of liability, and for the next 10 minutes, liability looked like me. My father tried to end the scene. All guests should move to the East Salon. The family will resolve this privately. I stepped onto the first stair of the altar, just high enough that the room could see me without effort. No. One word. No tears, no shaking. In my first life, I thought strength meant shouting over them. I had learned that strength can also be making everyone repeat themselves under lights. If the accusation was public, the correction begins public. Sienna used the wedding microphone. Nolan acknowledged the child in front of guests. My parents prepared an apology and a share transfer in my name before the accusation. I will not leave the room until every document is preserved. My brother Caleb, who had spent the morning live streaming expensive flowers for his followers, muttered, "You are insane." I turned to him. Were you asked to post the edited clip after I apologized? His face changed. Tiny. Quick. There was the next proof seed in my first life. Caleb uploaded a 30-second clip of me kneeling beside Sienna without audio from the earlier accusation. It made me look monstrous. This morning, I had found the scheduled draft still sitting in his social media manager. Title already written: Harlow Heiress attacks pregnant sister at her own wedding. I had taken a screenshot before he woke up. Caleb tried to laugh. What edited clip? The one scheduled for 10:15. Several guests checked their phones. Caleb's own girlfriend stared at him. My father snapped, "Enough!" I nodded. Yes, enough unsupervised paperwork. I picked up the pen from the signing table. The room held its breath because everyone thought I was about to sign. I was, but not the way they needed. Across the apology statement, in the blank space above my printed name, I wrote, "Received before verification. Pregnancy claim unconfirmed. Apology drafted before public accusation. Voting transfer rejected. Preserve file history. Printer log. And placement witness." Then I signed beneath my note, not as confession, but as receipt. My mother made a strangled sound. "You ruined it!" "No," I said, placing the pen down. "I dated it." Grace Lynn's headset crackled. She listened, went pale, and looked toward the ballroom doors. Rowan had moved from his post. He was speaking quietly to two men in dark suits I did not recognize from the Harlow guest list, though I recognized the way they held folders instead of programs. Hotel legal. Good. The Rosemont Grand was not just a venue today. It was the asset my family wanted to keep through my obedience. It was also the building where every corridor camera, printer log, access card, and livestream backup belonged to the hotel system, not to my father. My father had chosen the perfect public stage. He had forgotten stages have technicians. Sienna swayed. Nolan tightened his grip around her waist. "She needs air," he said. "Of course," I replied. "Call Hotel Medical and an ambulance, not the family doctor, not a private car. If she is pregnant and distressed, she deserves independent care." Sienna's eyes snapped to mine. There it was. The old play required sympathy, not medicine. It required my guilt, not a gurney with records, Nolan said. "You are cruel." I looked at Sienna's hand pressing theatrically over her stomach, at my mother's hidden document, at my father's red face, at Caleb's phone, at Rowan by the door. "No," I said. "I am careful." Part 3. The fainting was staged for the cameras. Sienna fainted exactly when I asked for an ambulance. Her knees bent with the grace of a dancer, and Nolan caught her before her veil touched the floor. In my first life, that fall became the picture that ruined me. Pregnant sister collapses after bride's attack. I remembered the headline so clearly I could feel the ink under my fingers. What no one saw then was how Sienna checked the nearest camera before she dropped, how Nolan shifted his stance half a second early, how my mother stepped aside to give the videographer a clean angle. This time, I watched all three movements and said, "Thank you. Please mark that as event 2. People turned. My father stared at me as if I had slapped him. "Your sister is unconscious." "Then stop posing and call medical." I said. Grace Lynn had already lifted her radio. "Hotel medical to the grand ballroom," she whispered. "Ambulance requested." Nolan glared at her. "We do not need an ambulance." I looked at the guests. Why not? That question did more work than an accusation. It let everyone hear the strange shape of Nolan's panic. A man publicly claiming responsibility for an unborn child should want care. A man managing a performance wants privacy. Sienna's lashes trembled. She was not unconscious. She was waiting to be carried somewhere without cameras. Nolan bent toward her. "I will take her to the bridal suite." No, I said. The bridal suite is where my contract folder was prepared. Use the hotel medical room. My mother snapped. Marina, Mother, if Sienna is pregnant, she needs care. If she is not, she needs less acting. A gasp moved through the room. I did not apologize for it. In my first life, I softened every sentence until it became useless. Tonight, I kept the edge where evidence could hook. 2 hotel medics arrived with a wheelchair and a small emergency kit. The lead medic, a woman in her 40s named Nora Pike, knelt beside Sienna. Miss, can you hear me? Sienna's eyes fluttered open on cue. The baby, she whispered. Nolan looked relieved. My father looked triumphant. My mother began to cry. Nora did not. She checked Sienna's pulse, her pupils, then asked, "How many weeks pregnant?" Sienna said. 8, Nora asked. Any confirmed ultrasound? Yes, Sienna said. Westbridge. Nora looked at me. I said nothing. The best questions are the ones someone official asks for you. Nora turned to Nolan. Are you the spouse? Nolan straightened. I am the father. That is not what I asked. The room absorbed the distinction. Nolan's face flushed. I am her fiance. Evelyn Vale gave a small laugh from the groom's side. It was not warm. No, I said, before Nolan could answer again. He is my fiance in this public ceremony. He just claims Sienna's child. The relationship status is one of the reasons we need the record clear. Nora, bless her, wrote something on her clipboard. People underestimate clipboards. They give truth a place to sit. My father's phone buzzed, then my mother's, then Caleb's. I knew what had happened. At 10:15, Caleb's scheduled clip tried to post and failed because his social media manager had lost network access under the hotel event controls Rowan requested at dawn. The message on Caleb's screen would say, "Manual approval required." The edited caption would still be visible. He shoved the phone into his pocket, too late. I turned toward him. Caleb, do you want to show the guests the clip you plan to upload? He barked. You are paranoid. I held up my phone. The screenshot filled my screen. Harlow Heiress attacks pregnant sister at her own wedding. Scheduled time, 10:15 a.m. Draft created, 8:02 a.m. Attached media, empty placeholder. The guests did not need me to explain. Their faces did it themselves. First confusion, then calculation, then the slow discomfort of realizing they were extras in a prepared scandal. Caleb's girlfriend stepped away from him. My father whispered, "You had no right to access his account." I did not, I said. He left the scheduling dashboard open on the family media tablet in the bridal lounge. I photographed what was visible before the accusation happened. My mother closed her eyes again. That was becoming her habit when the timeline betrayed her. Nora and the second medic helped Sienna into the wheelchair. Sienna's hand went to her stomach, then to Nolan's sleeve, then to the necklace at her throat. A tiny gold pendant. I remembered it from the first life because it appeared in every sympathy photo afterward. I had thought it was sentimental. This morning, in the bridal suite, I saw her open it. It was not a locket. It was a small remote shutter paired to Caleb's camera. Press once, mark clip. Press twice, send highlight. Sienna had built her own witness and called it jewelry, as Nora wheeled her toward the medical room. I said, "Please preserve the pendant as personal property if it controls recording equipment." Sienna's eyes flew open fully. There it was. The first real fear. Nolan snapped, "You cannot take her necklace." Nora paused. "I am not taking anything. But if it is an electronic device used during a medical event in an active security review, hotel security can document it. Rowan's voice came from the side doors. "We can." 2 words, calm and low. The room looked at him as if noticing a wall could speak. No one's lip curled. "And who are you?" In my first life, this was where I lied. I said he was no one. I said he was only helping. I gave my husband the smallness my family had trained into me. Tonight, I did not answer for him. Rowan stepped forward in his security jacket, dark hair neat, face unreadable. "Venue security liaison," he said. That was true. It was also incomplete. "The pendant can be photographed in place. No one will remove it without consent or lawful process." He looked at Sienna. "Not no one." "Miss Hart, do you consent to the pendant being photographed for the incident record?" Sienna's mouth trembled. "Why are you all attacking me?" Perfect. Attack was the word she needed. It turned questions into violence. I walked closer, keeping 3 steps between us so no camera could crop me into menace. "No one is touching you. No one is denying care. We are preserving records because this claim is being used to remove me from my wedding and my hotel shares." I looked at Nora. "Please take her to the medical room. I will not follow. Independent staff only." My father hated that. He wanted me near Sienna. Upset. Framed by proximity. I stayed under the chandeliers where every guest could see my empty hands. Grace Lynn approached with a tablet. "Miss Harlow," she said quietly. "Hotel Legal asks whether you want the ceremony paused or converted to a contract meeting." I almost smiled. Rowan had warned them to offer neutral options, not emotional ones. I faced the room. "The wedding is paused. The contract meeting begins now." The word sounded strange, even to me. But the guests had already become witnesses. The family had already made the accusation public. If they wanted my signature, they could ask for it where everyone heard the price. Evelyn Vale stepped forward. "Rosemont Grand's share transfer was meant to be signed after the ceremony, correct?" My father stiffened. "Evelyn, this is not the moment." It became the moment when my son named an unborn child into a microphone. She took the apology from the table and read the footer. "Prepared by Harlow Family Office, 7:41 a.m." Her gaze moved to Nolan. "Did you know?" Nolan said nothing. Evelyn's face changed by 1 degree. Cold became colder. "Nolan," he said, "we needed a way to handle Marina." Handle. The word was almost generous. It opened the door and showed everyone the room behind it. I turned to the board members near the front row. "Mr. Alvarez, Ms. Keene, as independent directors of Rosemont Grand Holdings, do you accept a voting transfer signed under a live medical scandal before verification?" They looked at each other. Mr. Alvarez cleared his throat. "No prudent board would accept that without review." My father glared at him. "You work for the family." "I work for the company," Alvarez said, surprising himself. A small thing, but small things had weight when witnessed. From the corridor, a raised voice cut through the open doors. Sienna, not faint, not weak, furious. I said delete the hallway angle. The ballroom heard it, the medics heard it, the camera crew heard it. My father shut his eyes. Rowan looked toward the corridor and gave one small nod to the security technician beside him. The technician touched his earpiece. Hallway angle preserved. I stood beside the unsigned register, my bouquet still in my left hand, and felt the old life loosen its grip. They had staged a fainting. They had staged a clip. They had staged my apology. But they had staged it inside a hotel whose systems they did not own anymore. Not fully. Not after the debt sale my father ignored because he was too busy selling me. I looked at Nolan, who still stood under the flowers as if the arch belonged to him. "You wanted witnesses," I said. "Now we have them." Part 4. I let them sign away the hotel. My father asked for 15 minutes. He called it a family conference, but he brought 2 lawyers, Evelyn Vale, Nolan, my mother, Caleb, and the independent directors into the East Salon. Sienna remained in the medical room, where hotel staff could hear every miraculous recovery she made when she thought no guests were watching. I entered last, with Rowan behind me and Daniel Reed on speakerphone. My father stopped in front of Rowan. "Security is not invited." I looked at Grace Lynn, who stood by the salon door with her tablet. "Is he assigned to venue incident preservation?" Grace nodded. "Yes." "Then he stays." Victor's face darkened. In my first life, he removed people by naming them improper. Servant, outsider, driver, emotional daughter. This time, every label had to pass a system that did not belong to him. Rowan stood beside the wall, hands relaxed, eyes lowered in the humble posture rich men wear only when they want fools to keep talking. My father mistook it for obedience. That was useful. The East Salon smelled of lilies and hot coffee. Someone had dragged in a smaller signing table. On it sat 3 documents: the apology, the voting transfer, and a new paper my father's lawyer pretended had existed all along. Emergency Reputation Stabilization Agreement. I almost admired the efficiency. They had rebranded theft as weather relief. My father folded his hands. "Marina, the situation is painful, but it can still be contained. Sign the apology without your childish notes. Transfer temporary voting authority to me. The Vale family will postpone the ceremony. Sienna will receive care. And we will protect your future." "Which future?" I asked. "The one where I am removed from the trust, or the one where Caleb posts the edited clip after I sign?" Caleb slammed his hand on the table. "I deleted it." Daniel Reed's voice came from my phone. "The deletion request is logged." Caleb went pale. Daniel continued. "Mild as rain. The content management dashboard preserves scheduled drafts for compliance review after a public incident." My father turned toward the phone. "Daniel, you are retained by the board." "Not by my daughter?" "Correct," Daniel said. "That is why I am preserving the company's exposure instead of the family's convenience." Evelyn Vale sat very still. She had not defended Nolan since his word handle entered the room. Her silence was more dangerous to him than my anger. Nolan tried to recover with charm. "Marina, I was wrong to say it that way. But Sienna is scared. The child changes things." "Then prove the child before changing ownership," I said. His jaw tightened. "You always make everything legal. You made it financial first." I tapped the transfer agreement. "This does not ask me to forgive a pregnancy. It asks me to surrender voting rights in Rosemont Grand. So let us stop pretending your conscience requires my shares." My mother began crying in the chair beside my father. "We are trying to save the family name." "You used my name as the damage." "Because you are strong enough to endure it." There it was. the compliment mothers give daughters they intend to sacrifice. I looked at her and felt something inside me close with a quiet click. I was strong enough in the first life, too, I thought, but did not say. Some truths are not for the people who caused them. Aloud, I said, "If you believe this agreement protects me, sign a witness statement saying who drafted it, when, and why." The lawyer shifted. "That is unnecessary." "Then the agreement is unnecessary." My father leaned forward. "You do not get to set terms." "I do if you need my signature." The silence after that was almost tender. It was the sound of a family discovering that a tool had a handle on the other side. Evelyn placed one finger on the table. "Victor, if the transfer is legitimate, a drafting history should not hurt you." My father hated her then, not enough to show it, but enough for me to see the tiny pulse in his temple. He said, "Fine. We will sign a process statement after Marina signs." I shook my head. "Before." Nolan laughed sharply. "You are gambling your wedding on paperwork." I turned to him. "No, Nolan. You gambled your mistress on my obedience. I am just reading the odds." The lawyer drafted the witness statement with the expression of a man walking barefoot across broken glass. I dictated slowly. At approximately 7:35 a.m., Elaine Harlow requested placement of an apology statement and temporary voting transfer at the wedding signing table. Purpose stated by Victor Harlow: manage possible public medical disclosure involving Sienna Hart and Nolan Vale. Caleb Harlow prepared a media response draft before ceremony start. Nolan Vale was aware that Sienna Hart intended to interrupt the ceremony. My father interrupted. "No." I looked at Nolan. "Were you aware?" He looked away. Evelyn looked at him too. "Nolan," he whispered. I knew she might speak. Evelyn closed her eyes. "Write that." I said, "The lawyer did, not because he liked me, because Evelyn was watching. Daniel was recording the meeting minutes, and the independent directors sat beside the window with faces that had become professionally blank. Professional blankness can be a kind of fear. It can also be the first step towards self-preservation. Then my father made his real move. "Marina, sign the transfer as a temporary measure. In return, I will guarantee your living allowance for 5 years and protect your position as honorary board observer." Honorary observer. I had been born into the Harlow family, worked summers in the hotel laundry at 14, learned banquet margins before I learned to drive, and built the investor packet that saved Rosemont Grand's East Wing renovation. My reward was a chair without a vote. I smiled. "No," Nolan said. "Then I will marry Sienna. Publicly. Today." My mother gasped as if she had not planned it. Sienna's empty chair seemed to glow. My father looked stricken for exactly half a second, then practical. "That would worsen the scandal." Nolan shrugged. "It also stabilizes paternity," Evelyn said. "It destroys the Vale agreement." Nolan looked at her. "Not if Marina transfers the shares first." There, the truth had stopped wearing perfume. I picked up the emergency agreement. So the sequence is, Sienna announces pregnancy. I apologize. I transfer voting rights. Nolan switches brides. And my family calls it reputation stabilization. No one answered. I looked at the two independent directors. "Please note that silence." Ms. Keene wrote it down. My father's face reddened. "This is my company." "No," Daniel said through the phone. Rosemont Grand Holdings is a company with bylaws, creditors, directors, and minority protections. It is not a living room. Rowan moved for the first time. He walked to the coffee service and poured water into a glass. Everyone watched because he was supposed to be furniture. He placed the glass beside me, then returned to the wall. My mother looked offended by the kindness. Nolan looked amused. "Your guard is loyal." I took the glass. "My husband is patient." The word husband hit the table differently than I expected. My father frowned. Nolan laughed. "Do not be ridiculous." I did not explain. Not yet. A reveal used too early becomes a rescue. I needed their signatures first. The lawyer slid the witness statement across the table. My father signed with a hand so hard the pen left a dent. My mother signed beneath him, crying silently. Caleb signed after reading only the first line because impatience had always been his legal education. Nolan refused until Evelyn said, "Sign, or I freeze your personal guarantee before lunch." He signed. The ink dried under the salon lights. 4 signatures. 4 people admitting the scandal had been prepared before the bride was accused. 4th proof object complete. I lifted the transfer agreement and tore it in half. My mother cried out. My father lurched up from his chair. "You stupid girl." Rowan stepped 1 inch away from the wall. Not enough to threaten, enough to remind the room he existed. I placed the torn halves on the table. "A rejected transfer is not a transfer," I said. "A signed witness statement is still a witness statement," Daniel said. Confirmed. The salon doors opened. Nora Pike entered, with Sienna in the wheelchair, very awake, very angry, and far less pale than a woman who had just fainted under pregnancy stress should look. Behind her stood a hotel legal officer carrying a sealed folder. Sienna saw the torn transfer and lost her mask for 1 pure second. "You were supposed to sign before I came back." The room heard it. The hotel legal officer paused. Ms. Keene's pen stopped. Nolan's head snapped toward Sienna. My father whispered something I could not hear. I looked at Sienna gently. "Thank you," I said. That sentence saved everyone a lot of time. The legal officer placed the sealed folder on the table. Westbridge Women's Clinic has responded to a document authenticity request initiated by the claimant's presentation of the document to third parties, she said. They confirm the paper in Mrs. Harlow's possession is not a current clinic-generated confirmation. She did not say whether Sienna was pregnant. She did not need to. She said the weapon was forged. Sienna's face went white for real. Nolan stood too fast. My father reached for the folder. The legal officer pulled it back. "This copy is for board counsel and event incident preservation." Her eyes moved to Rowan for half a second before returning to Daniel's phone. Another tiny mistake from someone who knew more than the room thought. Evelyn saw it. So did Nolan. So did my father. "Why did she look at him?" Nolan asked. The room turned toward Rowan. He stood quietly beside the wall in a security jacket that suddenly looked less like a uniform and more like camouflage. I set down the glass he had brought me. "Because," I said, "this hotel has a new controlling creditor, and you have spent the morning insulting his representative." Rowan looked at me, asking without words. I gave the smallest nod. Not yet the full truth. Just enough pressure to make them overplay. My father scoffed. "Mercer Meridian has no controlling position here," Daniel Reed replied. "That statement is outdated as of 9:30 a.m. The East Salon went so still that even the air conditioner seemed rude. Rowan remained silent, My father looked at the torn transfer, the witness statement, the Westbridge folder, and then at me. For the first time that morning, he was not angry because I had embarrassed him. He was afraid because he did not know who owned the room. Part 5. My CEO husband arrived at my wedding. The ballroom looked different when we returned. The flowers were still white, the cake still untouched, the string quartet still sitting with instruments in their laps. But the guests no longer watched like wedding guests. They watched like jurors who had just realized nobody told them they were serving. Sienna's wheelchair rolled in first. Nolan walked beside her, jaw tight. My parents followed with the stiffness of people who had signed something they wanted back. I entered last, not because I was dramatic, but because I wanted every camera pointed forward before the proof began. Grace Lynn stood near the stage with 2 hotel legal officers. The main screen behind the altar had changed from our engagement portrait to a plain blue holding slide. Event incident review, my mother whispered. This is obscene. I looked at the screen, then at the unsigned wedding register. No, the obscene part was asking me to apologize for a lie, in the same room where you plan to sell my voting rights, my father said. You will regret this. In my first life, that sentence worked because regret was all I had. Tonight, I had documents. Daniel Reed appeared on the screen through a video call. His hair was slightly messy, as if he had been pulled from a quiet Sunday by the world's ugliest wedding. For the record, he said, Rosemont Grand Holdings Board Counsel is preserving materials related to a public accusation, proposed voting transfer, and possible market-sensitive ownership change. Several guests straightened at ownership change. Nolan looked toward his mother. Evelyn did not look back. She watched the screen like someone reviewing a will. Daniel began with the least emotional proof. Timeline 1, prepared documents. The screen showed the apology statement footer, the voting transfer draft, the witness statement signed in the East Salon, and Grace Lynn's event note confirming my mother placed the folder before the ceremony. No shouting, no music, just timestamps. Apology drafted 7:41 a.m. Folder placed 7:45 a.m. Media draft created 8:02 a.m. Ceremony interruption 9:58 a.m. The documents precede the public accusation, Daniel said. That does not by itself prove a false medical claim. It does prove the bride's apology and voting transfer were prepared before she had any public conduct to apologize for. My father tried to speak. Evelyn Vale lifted one hand without looking at him. Let counsel finish. The whole room saw it. The groom's mother choosing process over Victor Harlow. My father sat back. Power can evaporate very quietly when another powerful person stops pretending. Daniel continued. Timeline 2, media preparation. Caleb's scheduled clip appeared on the screen with its caption, Harlow Heiress attacks pregnant sister at her own wedding. Created 8:02 a.m. Scheduled 10:15 a.m. Audio track blank. Video placeholder empty. Caleb cursed under his breath. His girlfriend had moved to the far side of the aisle. The clip was prepared before any physical interaction, Daniel said. No attack occurred on preserved footage. The screen showed me standing 3 steps from Sienna while she swayed and Nolan caught her. It showed Sienna glancing at the camera before she fell. It showed my hands holding the bouquet, not touching her. It showed my mother stepping aside for the angle. People made small sounds they could not keep in. Sienna whispered. I was scared. I turned to her. Of what? The camera missing your good side? Nolan snapped. Enough. I did not look away. No, enough was the first life. this is the record. Daniel opened the third proof. Medical document authenticity. The screen did not show private medical details. It showed only the letter from Westbridge's legal office. The presented paper did not match current clinic-generated pregnancy confirmation format and could not be verified as issued by Westbridge. Daniel said, "This does not disclose Miss Hart's private medical status. It confirms that the paper presented to support the public claim is not verified as clinic-generated." Sienna began crying again. But the room had learned to hear tears differently. They no longer washed the facts clean. Nolan's face had gone from angry to calculating. "So the paper is wrong," he said. "That does not mean the baby is not mine." Evelyn's head turned slowly. "Nolan." He ignored her because panic makes fools brave. "I still choose Sienna." Sienna looked up at him with desperate gratitude. "My father seized the opening. Then the families can proceed with a revised arrangement. Marina's conduct still threatens the company. A temporary voting assignment remains appropriate." He truly believed that if one lie survived, the money could still move. I almost felt sorry for him. "Almost," Daniel said. Then we moved to timeline 4, ownership and creditor notice. The holding slide vanished. A corporate notice appeared with the Mercer Meridian crest. Effective 9:30 a.m., Mercer Meridian Capital has acquired controlling creditor position and operational approval rights over Rosemont Grand Hotel, pending board ratification. Under the notice, a name appeared: Rowan Mercer, Chief Executive Officer. The ballroom did not gasp all at once. It rippled. First, the board members, then Evelyn, then the guests who knew enough about finance to understand that the quiet security liaison by the wall had not been staff. Nolan turned so sharply his boutonniere bent. Rowan stepped out from beside the door and walked toward the stage. He had removed the security jacket. Beneath it, he wore a dark charcoal suit, cut too well for any guard uniform. The hotel legal officers moved aside for him without being asked. My father stood. "This is impossible." Rowan stopped below the stage. "Not above me." He did not take the microphone from my hand. He looked at Daniel on the screen. "Proceed." 2 syllables. The voice of a man who had never needed to be loud because documents arrived before he did. Nolan stared at him. "You are Mercer?" Rowan looked back. "I have been all morning." "You let us call you security." "You did not ask." Rowan said, then his eyes shifted to me. "And Marina asked me not to interrupt before the records were preserved." That mattered. He said it in front of everyone. Not, "I came to save her," not, "I protected my wife." He told the room I had directed the timing. I felt something in my chest ache open. My mother whispered, "Your wife?" Nolan heard it too. He laughed once, ugly and disbelieving. "No." I took the small envelope from inside my bouquet ribbon and opened it. I had placed it there at dawn. The certified copy of my marriage certificate had a crease from being hidden under roses. I held it toward the camera. "Rowan Mercer and Marina Harlow," I said. "Registered 3 years ago, before this arranged ceremony. Before Nolan's family asked for my hotel shares. Before my father decided my signature was easier to sell than my consent." The room blurred at the edges, but my voice stayed steady. "This wedding was never a legal marriage unless I signed today. You plan to use the ceremony to make me obedient, then use Sienna's staged pregnancy to make me guilty, then use my guilt to move Rosemont Grand voting rights. You forgot to check whether I belonged to the story you wrote." Rowan walked up the steps then and stood beside me. Not in front, beside. The distinction was small enough for the room to miss and large enough for me to breathe. Evelyn Vale's face had turned to stone. She looked at Nolan. You pursued a woman who was already married for her shares? Nolan looked wild. I did not know. I turned to him. You did not need to know I was married to know Sienna's claim was being used to force a transfer. He had no answer. Sienna gripped the wheelchair arms. Marina trapped us. I smiled faintly. No. I let you finish your sentences. Daniel opened the fifth proof. Venue ownership transfer attempt. The screen showed the emergency agreement, the torn, rejected transfer, and the witness statement signed by my parents. Caleb and Nolan. The key line appeared enlarged. Nolan Vale was aware that Sienna Hart intended to interrupt the ceremony. Evelyn read it once, then again. Her hand closed around her clutch. Nolan. This time, her voice held no warning, only sentence. Nolan stepped toward me. You set this up. Rowan moved half a step. I touched his sleeve. He stopped. I looked at Nolan. I preserved what you set up. There is a difference. Nolan's face twisted. You were supposed to be grateful. My family was taking you after your father's debt. A small sound came from the guest rows. Taking you. In a wedding hall. In front of everyone. Nolan heard himself too late. My father sat down as if his knees had forgotten politics. My mother cried into a handkerchief. Caleb looked at the exit. Sienna stared at Rowan, calculating whether tears could travel from poor guard to billionaire CEO fast enough. They could not. Rowan's expression toward her was almost polite, which somehow made it colder. Daniel said, based on preserved records, Mercer Meridian is suspending all discretionary approvals requested by Victor Harlow or Nolan Vale related to Rosemont Grand pending board review. The words landed like locks turning. The proposed voting transfer is rejected. The Harlow Family Office media release is preserved. The Vale expansion agreement is paused. Staff involved in falsifying access, incident, or medical-related documents are under review. Evelyn stood. The Vale family withdraws from today's wedding and from any revised arrangement involving Miss Hart. Nolan turned. Mother, you cannot. I can, she said, and I should have earlier. She looked at me then, and for the first time in either life, there was no assessment in her face, only a restrained apology she was too proud to say in front of guests. I accepted nothing, yet. Some apologies need to survive without immediate forgiveness. Sienna rose from the wheelchair. Nora Pike, the medic, looked almost impressed by the recovery. Sienna pointed at me. You stole my life. The words would have hurt once, in childhood. I had given Sienna dresses, rooms, birthday candles, even silence, because I believed love was proven by making space. Tonight, I looked at her in the gown she had chosen to ruin mine and said, no, I stopped lending you mine. The ballroom went very quiet. Rowan held the microphone stand while I placed the marriage certificate, the apology, the witness statement, and the Westbridge authenticity response in a neat row on the signing table. Proof objects should not look like weapons. They should look like doors out. I faced the guests one last time. This ceremony is canceled, I said. The investigation is not. Rowan looked at me. Ready? He asked softly. Not to leave the room, not to forgive anyone, to choose the next step. I looked at my father, my mother, Nolan, Sienna, Caleb, the guests, the cameras, the hotel that had almost become my cage. Then I nodded. Begin the board review. In public minutes. Part 6. The fake pregnancy broke their deal. The board review began in the same ballroom where my wedding cake still waited under sugar flowers. That was what made it satisfying. No one could pretend the scandal belonged to a closed family room. The place settings, the cameras, the white aisle, the flower arch, the untouched champagne, every decorative thing they had bought to make me obedient now framed the minutes that undid them. Daniel Reed called the independent directors to the front table. Grace Lynn provided the event logs. Hotel Legal opened the printer records. Rowan sat beside me, not at the head of the table, though everyone kept looking at him as if gravity had moved. My father tried one final speech. This is an emotional misunderstanding, exploited by outside interests. Daniel looked up. Which outside interests? Victor pointed at Rowan. Him. Rowan folded his hands. Mercer Meridian became creditor of record this morning through a transaction negotiated before today's ceremony. Your family's internal documents show you intended to use Marina's distress to consolidate voting rights before that notice reached the board. My father opened his mouth. Rowan added, "If you call that exploitation." I agree. We are discussing who performed it. A few guests looked down to hide their reactions. I did not hide mine. I looked straight at my father. The first consequence came from the printer log. The apology statement and voting transfer had been printed from my mother's study laptop at 7:38 a.m. My mother's claim that she had only placed documents someone else prepared died without drama. The log showed her username. It showed 3 test prints. It showed the final copy sent to the ballroom coordinator. Elaine Harlow pressed both hands together as if prayer could redact metadata. Ms. Keene asked. Mrs. Harlow, did you know Miss Hart intended to interrupt the ceremony before the ceremony began? My mother looked at me. I gave her nothing. She whispered, I knew there might be an announcement. What kind of announcement? Ms. Keene asked. My mother closed her eyes. A pregnancy. And you prepared your daughter's apology before confirming whether that pregnancy document was authentic? Silence. Then, so softly the microphone almost missed it. Yes. The room did not gasp this time. It had grown past surprise. Consequence 1, my mother's love became an admission in public minutes. The second consequence came from Caleb's account. He tried to say the scheduled post was a prank draft. Daniel showed the content manager's note attached to it. Post after M kneels. Use no audio. Crop sister's face wet. My brother stared at the screen as if the words had been written by another man's fingers. They had not. His influencer manager, reached by phone, confirmed Caleb had asked for a sympathetic pregnancy angle 2 days earlier. Caleb's sponsor representative, who happened to be one of the wedding guests, walked out before the call ended. Consequence 2. The son who wanted to profit from my humiliation lost the audience he meant to feed. The third consequence belonged to Nolan. Evelyn Vale did not wait for the board to finish. She stepped to the microphone with the grace of a woman cutting a rotten branch from a living tree. Effective immediately, the Vale family withdraws Nolan Vale's authority to negotiate any agreement involving Rosemont Grand, Harlow Holdings, or Mercer Meridian. Nolan went white. Mother, you used a false or unverified pregnancy claim to pressure a bride into a property transfer, Evelyn said. You admitted you knew the interruption might happen. You allowed a woman to be humiliated in a public ceremony for leverage. I raised you better than this. And if I failed, I will at least not finance the failure. Consequence 3. Nolan lost the family name while standing under the flowers he had meant to use as cover. Sienna tried to save him by collapsing again. This time, no one moved quickly enough to make it convincing. Nora Pike approached, checked her, and said with professional calm, "Miss Hart is conscious and refusing transport." Sienna opened her eyes too soon. The mistake was small. It finished her. Daniel asked only one question through the microphone. "Miss Hart, did you authorize anyone to present the Westbridge document as clinic-generated?" Her lips trembled. She looked at Nolan. He looked away. She looked at my mother. My mother stared at the table. She looked at my father. He had already begun calculating which person to abandon first. Sienna had spent 10 years becoming the daughter they preferred. In the end, preference was not loyalty. It was usefulness. Wearing perfume. I was scared. Sienna said. Daniel waited. Silence does not argue. It only makes lies carry their own weight. Finally, she whispered, "I thought Nolan would leave me." Evelyn's mouth tightened. "So you lied about a child?" "I did not say lie." "Then say truth." Sienna could not. Consequence 4. The fake pregnancy did not need a cruel medical spectacle to collapse. It collapsed because the claimant could not let the paper be verified. My father tried to cut a deal. Of course he did. He stood, adjusted his tie, and spoke to Rowan as if I had become furniture again. Mercer Meridian wants stable operations. Marina is emotional. I can provide continuity if voting authority stays with me during review. I almost laughed. He had watched every proof object fall and still reached for my authority like a waiter reaching for an empty plate. Rowan did not answer him. He looked at me. "Marina?" One word, in front of everyone. My father heard the order of power and hated it. I stood. "Victor Harlow is suspended from any unilateral action involving my shares, my trust interests, or Rosemont Grand Voting Authority pending board review. Elaine Harlow is removed from document handling authority related to my assets. Caleb Harlow is barred from publishing event footage until legal review is complete. Nolan Vale has no standing to request any transfer from me. Sienna Hart will communicate through counsel if she makes any further claim tied to my name, my wedding. Or this hotel," I looked at Daniel. "Put that in minutes as my requested protective action." Daniel nodded. "Recorded." My father laughed once. It sounded broken. "You think because you married a rich man you can speak like that?" There it was. The easiest lie left to him. I looked at the guests, then at Rowan. "No. I speak like that because the shares are mine. The evidence is mine. The signature they needed was mine. Rowan did not give me standing. He stopped me from forgetting I had it." The room held still. Rowan's eyes softened. Not enough for the public to call it romance. Enough for me to feel seen. The 5th consequence came from the hotel staff. Grace Lynn stepped forward with 3 printed statements from the event team. Staff members had been asked to block certain camera angles during Sienna's announcement. One had been told to move the wheelchair route through a corridor with fewer cameras. Another had been told by my mother's assistant to keep the contract folder within reach of the bride when she breaks. When she breaks. The phrase appeared on the screen and the room inhaled as one body. My mother began to cry again. This time, nobody comforted her. The sixth consequence came from Rowan, and it was the only one that sounded like business. Mercer Meridian will continue the Rosemont Grand Review with independent directors only. Victor Harlow's discretionary management privileges are paused. Vendor payments, staff payroll, and event operations remain protected. No staff member will be penalized for preserving evidence today. That mattered. In my first life, my father's first revenge was always economic. Fire the planner, blame the medics, punish the assistant. Rowan cut off that path before it opened. Power used properly can be very quiet. Sienna finally stood from the wheelchair, abandoning the role because nobody was buying tickets. "What about me?" she demanded. It was the first honest question she had asked all day. I looked at her. She was beautiful, furious, and smaller than she had ever looked inside my fear. "You can leave with your own name," I said. "Not mine. Not my wedding. Not my inheritance. Not a child used as a weapon. Yours." She stared at me as if I had struck her. Maybe for Sienna, being handed only herself felt like violence. Nolan reached for her. She pulled away. His family had cut him loose. My family had exposed themselves. Her paper had failed. He no longer looked like a prize. He looked like a man who would blame the nearest woman for the trap he built with her. Good. Let them meet each other without my life between them. My father made one last mistake. He stepped close enough to lower his voice. Forgetting the lapel microphone on my bouquet ribbon was still live. "You will come home tonight, Marina. Do you understand? You will not embarrass me further." The speakers caught every word. Guests turned. The board members looked up. Rowan's hand tightened once at his side, but he did not move. He remembered my fight, my timing, my proof. I lifted the bouquet microphone closer to my mouth. "No," I said. "I will not come home to be managed. I will not sign another prepared apology. I will not trade my name for family peace. And I will not let the people who used a fake pregnancy claim, an edited clip, and a pre-written confession decide what happens to my assets." My voice did not shake. Not because I was not hurt, because hurt had finally found structure. Daniel recorded the protective actions. Ms. Keene moved to convene an emergency board session within 48 hours. Mr. Alvarez seconded. Evelyn Vale formally withdrew Nolan from all Rosemont-linked negotiations. Grace Lynn archived the event recording under legal hold. Nora Pike filed her medical room incident note. The hotel technician exported camera logs. Each small action sounded like paperwork. Together, they sounded like chains unlocking. When the review paused, the wedding guests did what guests always do after witnessing a family collapse under chandeliers. They pretended to check their phones, gathered purses, whispered apologies they did not know where to put, and drifted toward the exits. Nobody touched the cake. Nobody congratulated the groom. Nobody asked Sienna how she felt. The room that had been prepared to watch me kneel watched my family stand alone instead. I looked at the aisle one more time. In my first life, I left it crawling inside my own shame. Tonight, I walked down it beside my legal husband, carrying no bouquet, no apology, and no new last name. Behind me, the screens still showed the proof timeline. Ahead of me, the lobby doors opened to sunlight and reporters who had not yet learned which version of the story to ask for. I smiled. Not because the day was easy, because for once, they would have to ask me. Part 7. I left my wedding with my name. The reporters arrived at the lobby glass like rain against a window.
Phones lifted.
Questions collided.
Was the wedding canceled? Was Sienna Hart really pregnant? Was Rowan Mercer buying Rosemont Grand? Did the Harlow family forge a statement? Did Nolan Vale abandon the bride?
In my first life, cameras made me feel hunted.
Tonight, they sounded like doors knocking from the outside.
Rowan paused beside me before we reached them.
We can use the service exit.
He said. The offer was gentle, and because it was gentle, it was tempting. I had spent 2 lives being watched at my weakest. Disappearing would have felt like rest. But disappearance is how other people write your captions. I looked through the glass at the lobby camera, the same one that had watched me refuse to pick up the first lie. No, I said. Front door. Rowan nodded once. No argument, no protective speech, no hand closing over mine unless I reached first. That was why I had married him in the first place, though I had forgotten during the years I spent hiding him from rooms that did not deserve him. Rowan never confused love with ownership. He only sometimes confused patience with silence. We would discuss that later. Grace Lynn handed me a single-page statement approved by Daniel Reed. It was clean, boring, and devastating. Today's public ceremony between Marina Harlow and Nolan Vale has been canceled. Rosemont Grand Holdings is preserving records related to a public claim, prepared apology, attempted voting transfer, and event media manipulation. Marina Harlow is legally married to Rowan Mercer. Board review is pending. No further medical details will be released. I read it once and handed it back. Add 1 line, I said. Grace lifted her pen. No statement made today authorizes harassment of Sienna Hart regarding private medical matters. Grace looked surprised. Rowan did not. Sienna had lied about me. She had tried to use pregnancy as a weapon. She had helped build the trap that ruined my first life. I still would not turn medical cruelty into my revenge. Proof was not the same as punishment. I wanted her lie exposed, not her body dissected by strangers. That line was for her. But it was also for me. If I let the room become cruel in my name, my victory would carry their fingerprints. The statement went out. The reporters shouted anyway. I stepped through the doors with Rowan, half a pace beside me. Flashing phones lit his face. Then mine. Miss Harlow, did your family know? Mrs. Mercer, is your marriage real? Did Sienna fake the pregnancy? Is Mercer Meridian taking over Rosemont Grand? I lifted my hand just once. The noise lowered enough. Not silent. Never silent. But listening. The ceremony is canceled, I said. The documents are under legal hold. I will not discuss anyone's private medical status. I will say this clearly. An apology was written in my name before I was accused. A media clip was prepared before any incident. And a voting transfer was placed at my wedding table before I gave consent. I did not sign it. I will not sign it, a reporter asked. What about Nolan Vale? I looked at the man who had once ruined me by sounding sorry after it was profitable. Nolan stood behind the lobby pillars with Evelyn's aide beside him, already stripped of handlers and certainty. Ask the Vale family, I said. He no longer speaks for mine. Another reporter asked. And Rowan Mercer, did he buy the hotel for you? I looked at Rowan. A tiny smile touched his mouth because he knew I would hate the question. No, I said. He bought debt my father ignored. I brought proof my father feared. Do not confuse the two. That line traveled fastest. By evening, it would be clipped across social media. Not me kneeling, not Sienna falling, not Nolan holding a pregnant lie like a shield. Me at the front doors in my wedding dress, saying I brought proof. In the first life, Caleb's edited video named me monster before I could speak. In this life, the first caption belonged to my own sentence. We did not go back to the Harlow house. Rowan drove me to the small apartment above the old flower market where we had signed our marriage papers 3 years earlier. It was still under my name because my family never thought to look for anything without chandeliers. I changed out of the wedding dress in the bedroom while Rowan waited in the kitchen, making tea badly because billionaires are apparently not born knowing kettle settings. When I came out in a gray sweater and loose trousers, he was reading the tea box like it contained merger terms. I laughed for the first time all day. The sound surprised both of us. He looked up. I should have told you earlier about Mercer Meridian. Yes, I said. He accepted that without defense. Good. I thought if you knew, you would feel trapped by another powerful family. So you let me feel alone instead. His face changed. Not hurt, recognition. Yes. I sat across from him. The apartment windows looked over a street florist closing for the evening. Buckets of lilies stood by the curb. Far simpler than the wedding flowers, and somehow kinder. Rowan, I did not marry you because you were poor. I married you because you handed me a copy of my grandmother's trust and said I deserved to read it before my father did. I remember. Then trust me with the whole page next time. He nodded. There will be no next time like this. There will be many next times, I said. Different rooms, different documents, different people assuming I need to be managed. If you stand beside me with the truth. He looked at our untouched tea. I can do that. Good. I took off my wedding ring from the ceremony, the veil ring I had never wanted, and set it on the table. Then I touched the plain gold band I wore on a chain beneath my sweater, the one from City Hall. This marriage stays because I choose it. I said, not because you revealed money in a ballroom. Rowan's eyes softened. That is the only version I want. By nightfall, the board froze my father's authority, pending review. Caleb's scheduled clip became evidence instead of entertainment. Evelyn Vale issued a statement withdrawing Nolan from negotiations and apologizing for the harm caused by members of the Vale family, which was not enough, but was more than she had ever said in the first life. Sienna's lawyer sent a letter threatening defamation, then a second letter requesting privacy, after Westbridge's legal team objected to forged clinic materials being circulated under their logo. My mother sent 12 messages. I read none of them. My father sent one, "Come home before you destroy us." I archived it under a folder named Evidence, because sometimes healing begins with proper filing. 3 days later, I attended the emergency board meeting in a Navy suit I bought myself years before my family decided Navy belonged to mourning. Rowan sat at the opposite end of the table as Mercer Meridian's representative. He did not sit beside me. That was deliberate. The room needed to see my vote was not an accessory to his. Daniel Reed presented the evidence. Ms. Keene moved to remove Victor Harlow from interim operational authority. Mr. Alvarez seconded. I voted yes. My father stared at me as if I had pushed him out of a house he built. He had forgotten who paid for the foundation, with silence. The motion passed. Rosemont Grand would continue under independent oversight until the debt restructure closed. My shares remained mine. My trust rights remained mine. The family office lost access to documents bearing my name. The public apology prepared for me was archived as evidence of coercion. The wedding invoice was transferred to my father's personal account. That last line was Daniel's idea, and I admired his petty devotion to accuracy. After the meeting, my mother waited in the corridor. She looked smaller without pearls. "Marina," she said. I stopped because running was another kind of obedience. "Sienna is leaving the house." I said nothing. "Your father is furious." Still nothing. Tears filled her eyes. I thought I was protecting the family. I looked at the woman who had printed my apology before hearing my voice. "You were," I said. "Just not me." She reached for my hand. I stepped back, not dramatically. Just enough. "Do not contact me unless your lawyer sends a document or you are ready to tell the truth without asking me to soften it." Her hand fell. Consequence does not always look like ruin. Sometimes it looks like a daughter learning the exact distance she needs to breathe. Sienna left a message that evening. I expected threats. Instead, her voice was raw. "They told me you would always survive it. They said you were born with everything, so taking one day would not matter." I played it twice. Then I saved it, not because I forgave her, because it was another proof of how my family distributed harm and called it balance. I did not answer. Forgiveness is not a phone call people earn by sounding broken once. A week later, the first news story changed its headline. From wedding pregnancy scandal rocks Harlow family to Harlow heiress blocks prepared share transfer after false document claim. It was ugly, but accurate. I printed it and placed it in the same folder as my marriage certificate, the witness statement, and the torn transfer. Then I wrote one more line in my own notebook. I did not win because Rowan was powerful. I won because I stopped treating my own calm as permission. Rowan found me on the apartment balcony after sunset. "The hotel board wants you on the restructuring committee." As a symbol? As a shareholder who read the documents faster than their lawyers. I considered that. Below us, the flower market smelled like rain and stems. "Then I will do it." He leaned on the railing beside me. "And the wedding dress?" I smiled. "Donate the fabric. Burn the contract folder. Keep the bouquet microphone." He laughed softly. "That is a strange heirloom. It caught my father's threat live." I said, "It has earned retirement." I did not get the wedding my family staged. I did not get the mother I wanted, the father I hoped might choose me, the brother who would protect me, or the sister who would stop borrowing my life. I got something colder and better. My name on my own shares. My signature under my own terms. A husband beside me because I chose him after seeing the whole truth. A future where every public room would know that if Marina Harlow went quiet, it did not mean she was breaking. It meant the cameras were still recording,